heard someone say my name. Clear as a bell.
We don't have very many great werewolf movies. We got like, you know, American Werewolf in London, Teen Wolf, compared to like all the great vampire movies that we got. Werewolves have sort of got short shrift. Why do you think that is? I mean, is there an inherent bias against werewolves in our industry?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Some kind of bias. Yeah, I don't know. I think, well, because vampires are like on 100% of the time, right? So they're like, you know, they can't go out in the day, they have to go out at night, whereas werewolves aren't on all the time. They're always it's only at night. So I don't know, maybe there's something that has to do with that. I mean, yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, there's Teen Wolf, and my dad was just telling me about this movie called Dog Soldier. It was supposed to be really good.
Right, yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
There's also The Howling, which is great. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Rules for Werewolves is a full-on, you know, werewolf movie or it's not. Like, it's very kind of on the border, so it's hard to explain. But yeah, I don't know. I think the movie's more about youth and revolt instead of like a sci-fi or a horror movie about werewolves. It's more kind of about youth standing up and kind of being anarchists.
I was hiking deep in the woods. As far away from those awful cities I've ever been.
Is this based on a novel, right? Kirk Lynn, who also wrote the screenplay.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe describe it. But who are these werewolves that are described? Because they aren't, as I say, they're not your typical werewolves. They're more like a bunch of rebellious teenagers, right? Yeah,
well, they're essentially a pack of young adults and teenagers that band together and kind of fight against regular kind of what you would call like regular government. They kind of are everything that the government enforces. They're everything that the government isn't.
I'm so proud of you.
They're just a bunch of teenagers who kind of found their family, right? Some of them come from bad homes. Some of them don't really have a purpose in life until they meet, you know, sometimes they'll join this group, they'll join the werewolves, and they'll figure out that they have a calling, and they feel like that they are kind of on the other side. They feel like they're outsiders, so they all band together.
And your character, you play Bobbert, right? The character from the book. Can you tell me about him? Who is Bobbert?
So Bobbert is this kid who comes from like a pretty bad home, kind of a broken home, and he's a shy kid, and he is also just kind of looking for a place in the world for him, and I think a lot of kids relate to that.
What drew you to the role? Because it seems, from what I've seen from the teaser and whatever, it looks a lot darker than, say, Stranger Things that we've seen you on. I mean, is this what drew you to it? Because it's sort of not the Mike Wheeler character that we're used to seeing?
Totally. Yeah, I'm always interested in playing kind of different kinds of characters, and in this short specifically, he tells this story, and I thought the story, I mean, the thing that drew me towards it was the story that he tells. Because what the short is that he's telling, you know, my character's telling the story throughout this kind of long one take. And I thought it was really, really interesting and great.
How challenging was it to do that, to sort of go to that very dark spot for the work?
Oh man, it was, to be honest, it was really fun. It was fun doing that because I don't get to do that a lot. And Jeremy, the director, really, like, he kind of, it's funny, like the other stuff we worked on, I've kind of played like kind of a dark version in some music videos, so it's kind of similar characters. So him and I kind of know how to get that out of me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, it's great. I think there's also, like, you know, we find it funny because I'm not an inherently dark person, so we find it funny that I can kind of switch on something more dark and weird. You
met Jeremy through the director through the work on the music videos that you did with him, yeah?
Yeah, I met Jeremy when I'm 17 now. I met him when I was 11, and I met him through an open casting call through this incredible punk band from Toronto called Pup. And I was kind of get to play like the little version of the lead singer, kind of set in a different universe, but also kind of a dark character, the same kind of character. We've kind of just been collaborating ever since. He's kind of my first collaborator, and when he said that he's, you know, working on this thing and working on it with Kirk, I was like totally swept away by it. And yeah, Kirk is also an absolute genius from Texas, and he's like one of the best writers, I think, of our time. So I'm really happy to be a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, for people who don't know the actual book, I mean, it's interesting because it's written entirely in dialogue. There's those scenes. I mean, can you describe what impressed you so much about the book that made you want to tell the story in a bigger way?
Well, I think that's the reason why I loved it so much, is because what drew me in was that it was dialogue, and that's what I love the most. To me, the Rules for Werewolves book gives you a perfect visual representation of what it looks like, because it just tells you what these characters are saying, what they're thinking 100% of the time. There's no like breaks for, you know, the reader being like, I wonder what this character is thinking, because they're always talking.
Put him in.
And I think that's how youth are. Like, I think youth are always talking, and they're always, and kids in general, like kids will always tell you how they really feel. And that's, to me, what Rules for Werewolves, the book, is incarnate, and also the screenplay, is that these kids are just 100% them to the fullest degrees. What
sort of movie it's going to be, if you know, when you get it made?
I don't know. You know, it's kind of going to be set in kind of a burnout type of environment, almost like you know, how I read it, which is, you know, and the director can speak to this, but it's almost like, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Suburbia.
Yeah, sure.
But kind of in that weird burnout town, and these kids kind of are just, they're kind of the kings of the town without you know, that they rule over it, whether the other citizens like it or not. So yeah, it's gonna be great.
And so, I mean, in the book, Kirk Lynn's book, one of the great things he does is that he keeps everything quite ambiguous in terms of whether or not the kids are actual werewolves, what happens to them when they sort of turn to werewolves and so forth. Don't need any spoilers in the film or the screenplay, but is the film going to come down on one side or the other, or is that sort of ambiguity going to be something that's going to be in the finished film as well?
Well, I think ambiguity plays a lot into Kirk also as a guy too. Kirk is kind of an ambiguous guy, and I've only spent one day with him, but he's fantastic. And yeah, I don't think, you know, I wouldn't spoil anything, but you know, I don't think anything will be too on the nose. That's just kind of not the film we're making.
It's funny. I mean, this is a new project with you. You got working on other things. Obviously, you got the new Ghostbusters movie that'll be coming out. But still, next year, the next season of Stranger Things comes out. There's talk of a movie, blah, blah. I just want to know, because you've got all these new projects coming up, when it comes to the character that so many of us know you from Mike Wheeler, are you ready to say goodbye to that character? Are you coming to the end of that? Or how do you feel about that prospect of saying goodbye to him?
That's a really interesting yeah, I think like what's so great about Stranger Things is like it has the Harry Potter effect, where you can go and see how the characters and the actors grew over time. And yeah, well, I think also, well, the character is kind of a part of me. So definitely when Stranger Things ends, it's not going to feel like it didn't happen, or that like Mike isn't a part of me still. I think I will be ready to say goodbye, but also it'll be bittersweet. But yeah, we still got a lot of work to do with Stranger Things, so we got some work still ahead.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. It's great to meet you via video. Yeah, take as I seem to say to everyone now: stay safe, wash your hands, take care. But it's been great seeing you, and hopefully we'll be able to see you when you actually make the movie. It sounds great. I love the book, so it'd be phenomenal if it gets made and gets made quickly.
I hope so too, man. Okay, well, stay safe.
Yeah, same. Take care. Bye bye.